Power to the people. Today I want to speak about the idea that the U.S. is a rogue regime. It's an immoral and illegal rogue regime. It doesn't even function as a true government of the people, for the people, and by the people. You need to understand the U.S. Constitution. You need to understand a little bit about the law. Understand what is a people's government. One that is of the people, for the people, and by the people. A true people's government would be a democratic government that's controlled by the majority of the masses. Right now, our whole electoral system is controlled by corporate capitalism. You have to be rich to even run for office on the federal level with the expectation of winning. Remember when Obama first ran, he spent about $1 billion. So that's why many people do not believe in elections and all. Though I believe that we need to use electoral politics as a tactic among other tactics in our overall strategy. At the same time, we need to look at ourselves and work on our own spiritual liberation, because the masses of the people in the USA, we're the ones that allow this government or this rogue regime to stay in power. Either we're voting the wrong way or we don't vote. So we need to be able to have the consciousness to exhaust all legal, peaceful methods of resistance, methods of struggle, methods of rebellion. If you look at the history of the USA, we can see that it has a long, bloody history. Nowadays, it operates, as I say, as a rogue regime, because it basically defies what has been accepted as so-called international law and international norms in pursuit of profits and in the interest of building up its empire. Especially with false flags. Remember, we got into the Vietnam War off a false flag, the Gulf of Tonkin. Remember, we got into, the rogue regime got into Iraq off a false flag, weapons of mass destruction. And let me interject here. The power of the mass psychology of fascism is a factor here. For example, when I said we got into this or no, I didn't get into nothing. It was the government, what I call the rogue regime. This is how embedded fascism is in our own collective consciousness. You know, if someone says, well, we did the drone strike over here, and we did the bombing over here, and I stop and think, no, it wasn't no we about it. It was them. Them. The U.S. rogue regime. This government has, or this regime, I've still got to condition my perception, my comprehension. This regime has us under a cloud of confusion. It is immoral. It is illegal. The NDAA violates the U.S. Constitution. And if you remember when Obama did his oath of office, integrated into that oath involves to defend and protect the U.S. Constitution. Obama has violated that. He's a traitor to the U.S. Constitution. You know, besides being a fraud, a hypocrite, a liar, a cheat, con artist, yet personally, I can like Obama. He's got a great smile and got a charming personality that he knows how to use. And he makes great speeches. Then, so did Hitler. Obama is really a strange cat, because I voted for him the first time, and the second time I voted for Jill Stein with the Green Party. And at first, when he got elected, and when people would criticize him in any way, they would get thrown the racist level. Oh, you don't like Obama because you're racist. And that flew for a while. But as people started to get hip to his maneuvers and his manipulations, and look at his actions, not just his words, his actions, we saw more and more how he was actually a corporate puppet for the corporate ruling class. And we got to see that we do live in a class society. We live in a racist society. And nowadays, I really don't sweat too much about what the regime does or not, because in a way I'm more concerned about the consciousness of the people. Now, I can't do anything now about the regime, yet I can have an influence, at least a tiny little bit, on the mass consciousness of people. And we all can. You know, we can influence our friends, our families, our local communities, and via internet power we can express ourselves through various social media platforms such as YouTube, Twitter, Google+, Facebook. We know it's a CIA data mining operation. So we need to look at media platforms too. That even though it could be a CIA front, that doesn't mean that we stop using them for our purposes, our educational purposes. This is an educational video. That's how I categorize it. So you can't be stupid and say, well, I'm not going to use Facebook because the pigs are watching on there. But you drink water in the USA, don't you? So we got to really be realistic and practical. Not fanatical. Like, say, to not be on the internet because, the NSA is just going to find out what I'm doing. And if you're not doing anything illegal, if you're not doing anything wrong, what are you worried about? And if you are doing something illegal, immoral, wrong, then you should worry. So, people that get caught up in the whole thing of what if the NSA finds out what I'm doing here? I'm like doing an email to my girlfriend. Who gives a shit? Don't be paranoid. Have some courage. Have the courage to speak your truth. It may not be my truth, but if it's your truth, I can respect that because it's your truth. When you're speaking out, you're exercising your freedom of speech. You're exercising your freedom of expression. And whether others agree or disagree doesn't matter in relation to your right of freedom of speech, your right to express yourself the way you see it, the way you want it. And in our expressions, let us learn from each other, knowing that no one knows everything or we could learn nothing. Let's express ourselves and exchange ideals, exchange opinions. At times we can agree to disagree and move on so that we create a more free, open democracy, at least in our dialogue. So that no one suppresses anyone else behind what they're saying. So we have to do more than just understand that, first of all, the government's broken. Second, it's a rogue regime that violates so-called international laws and norms on a continual basis. And third, any true, genuine democracy requires the mass participation of the people, or there can be no democracy. And if there is one, then it's a feeble one. So we need to be aware of these ideas. We need to question authority. For example, the Pharaoh Obama not meeting with the Russian President Putin behind Russia accepting Snowden, our hero whistleblower, into their country. is a sign of a disease that's in the White House. It's called control freak. Childish. They don't get their way, so they're not going to play. When the U.S. wanted Russia to extradite Snowden to the USA with the promise that they wouldn't torture him or they wouldn't kill him. What kind of government gets to make that kind of promise? I mean, what kind of baggage does it have where it has to promise another government, yeah, bring him over here, but we're not going to kill him, we're not going to torture him? You got to stop and question, then people just let that slip by like, oh, well, at least we're not going to torture him. Stupid. I'm a Chicano de Aslan. I'm not an American. And I'm not an American Indian or Native American. I'm a Chicano. La raza cósmica. So I look at life in the USA a lot different from other folks do. Thank God. Just look at the history of the USA. Its rulers are immoral. Its so-called government is illegal. We're not even going back to when Bush Jr. first won the presidency behind one Supreme Court judge. Then Al Gore didn't have the balls to fight him over it. Al Gore's another fanatical flunky. Where do we get these idiots from that we allow to rule over us? Right from here in the USA. So we need to really take a look at what is law. Okay. Laws are supposed to were put into existence to serve people, to help people, to create a legal structure for governing society. Laws were not meant to suppress people, to repress people, to screw people over. So laws have their place in a given society. And there are just laws and there are unjust laws. So I say we need to obey the law to the letter. Yet when it comes to us compromising our own ethics, our own morals, our own codes of conduct, we have the right to disobey that unjust law. Read your damn Constitution. Read the Declaration of Independence. I'm here in the USA. Being here in the USA, I have a limited perception of what's going on. I follow the news online. On Twitter, I follow about 99 Twitter accounts, mainly news accounts. So, even though in a way I'm isolated here, I don't have a passport to travel around the world and see other countries, nor the money. Sometimes I'm living hand to mouth. I don't even have access to a stove here right now. Yet nevertheless, I take the time and effort, expend the energy to express myself here now. So at least I can lodge my statements. At least I can express my opinions and share that with others. What concerns me, not necessarily worries me, but what concerns me, and I admit there's some worry, is the general apathy of the American people. People that I know to be, because I'm born and raised here, I know to be good, decent, hard-working people. We have a basic sense of fairness and justice and decency that makes me, in a sense, proud to be an American. You know, over the years, I got so turned off by all the perverted patriotism. I turned into a Chicano de Aztlán. So, the apathy of the American people, or something so-called progressives, need to understand. One is that historically we have been subjected to the most intensive, extensive fascist propaganda brainwashing of any people in human history. From childhood up, the U.S. textbooks. I'll leave a link here below with People's History of the U.S. by Zinn. You need to know history as a guide to action now, and be able to do a factual analysis of actual conditions here now. Not just import ideology from other countries, but ideology in terms of a system of ideas needs to accurately reflect the living conditions that we're under here now. So many people are lost in clouds of confusion. We need to understand the apathy and understand that it's a fear it's a disguised fear. It's a fear of maybe learning too much, maybe being exposed to knowledge that might make someone question their prejudices, make someone question their assumptions, make someone feel morally, ethically, spiritually motivated to change the situation, to question authority, to not accept lies from the White House as sacred truth. Just the idea of the White House having any kind of assumption of moral authority, of ethical authority, despite all the dark evils that the White House cabal has promulgated over the years, including during the Bush administration. You got to question that. You know, but people don't question because they're afraid of the answers. Afraid of the answers. Afraid of the truth. You know, the repressed mentality has a desire for and fear of the truth. I say repressed. R-E-P-R-E-S-S-E-D. Because something that's repressed, that we repress within us, can be worse than just an external economic oppression. Whereas the prisoner in the cage, though the door is open, is afraid to walk out that door. So what we need to do is develop each of us as an individual, even if it's just a movement of one being, one humane being. Each of us needs to create and develop and expand a basic code of ethics, a basic set of humane principles, a basic set of commandments that we live by and that we express and support and are consistent with, so we don't become hypocrites, cowardly hypocrites. I see a lot of cowardly people in the world who are afraid to speak up, afraid to speak out. They just want to go along with the herd. Ooh, ooh. Bah, bah. Thank God I got a sense of humor. So, I'm saying the USA is a rogue regime, that it is immoral, and that it is illegal. Remember, when we see a long train of abuses and usurpations, a long train of illegalities and immoralities by a given government, it is our right, it is our duty to repel that government and to establish the foundation for a new security, a new society. A new system, so we can live in peace, in harmony, so we can be the owners of our own labor, so we can create, so we can sing, so we can play, so we can dance, and so our children will be raised in a safe, supportive environment, because there's peace on earth. We need to comprehend the power of harmony, the power of us all getting along, working together, growing together, blossoming together. And to understand that peace on earth begins with peace in your heart. You need to settle accounts with your own demons. Work on your own character defects. Understand the shadow aspects of your personality. This is where spiritual liberation comes in. Your spiritual liberation connected with the overarching aim of global liberation. It's a double helix being. so that as we strive for the larger strategic game of global liberation, in the same process we're working on our spiritual liberation. So we practice now the kind of people we want to be in the future. So we understand the wisdom of compassion, power of love, nada más ahora. Thank you for your time and attention. Even your tolerance. I love you. I love all of humanity.